Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alphanim. So we're going to begin right here with this article on U.Today. New microphone, so hopefully it sounds good because I don't want to shoot this video twice. We have massive news, major implications. You let me know what you think. This article here is on U.Today, and it is titled, Ripple Partners with Industry Titans. And they're not joking either. I mean, some of these names we've heard before, but it's confirmation that things are moving forward. There's a reason that they're partnering with these individuals. Let's read this little tidbit here, if you don't mind. All right, so it begins here. It says, Ripple, a prominent cryptocurrency company, recently announced the revival of its CBDC Innovate Challenge. Don't worry, it's going somewhere good. This contest is specifically designed to stimulate the development of diverse applications for so-called state cryptocurrencies. It says individual and enterprise developers will be granted the opportunity to create CBDC applications and compete for substantial prize money. That's nice, but that's not why we're reading this article. The primary objective of the challenge is to encourage the creation or enhancement of fintech and payment solutions utilizing Ripple's service. The challenge itself comprises two distinct phases. Well, let me pause right there. So obviously, they're trying to stay ahead of the competition. They know that a lot of the banks, they like to rest on their laurels and they adopt certain technologies. And we do have a few non-bank coin offerings, or they're not really in the bank coin family. They're not really scalable. We know who we're talking about. And we want to make sure we're way out ahead of them. We're continuing to innovate. We have the most advanced offerings possible so that money comes right to us. And there is no one shoulder to shoulder with us. I mean, they're not now, but we want to make sure, we want to ensure we are out ahead of the competition. That's how money is made, folks. But anyway, so that lets me know that. But let's continue on here. We didn't get to the good part. So it says the primary objective. Okay, we read that part. The challenge itself comprises two distinct phases. Phase 1 involves building an application on the public XRP ledger, while Phase 2 focuses on constructing applications on Ripple's private CBDC platform. Keep in mind what David Schwartz says, there is only one price for XRP, whether it's on the private ledger or public, it doesn't make a difference. One price, so keep that in mind, all right? Says what makes this competition particularly noteworthy is the esteemed, hey, you're using some of my words, esteemed lineup of judges. And they're not kidding, folks. All right, so here we go. It says esteemed professionals from renowned institutions such as, and we just discussed them yesterday, MasterCard, Bank of Finland, Digital Euro Association, DXC Technology, Amazon Web Services. It just keeps getting better. This is what I call winning, in my humble opinion. Obviously, they're going to use XRPL based technologies. Obviously, if they're interested in this, they're this invested. Clearly, the Bank of International Settlements, like we didn't know. My apologies. Just permit me a little bit of laughter. PWC, we already knew that, right? And the Digital Dollar Project will collaborate with Ripple to select the most innovative solutions. I wonder why they're involved. Oh, man. I love good news. I just do, you know. I wanted to be so serious this video, but hey, it's my natural flow. It says the company is presently, oh, wait, my apologies. The involvement of these influential figures from the worlds of finance and technology demonstrate both the seriousness of Ripple's intentions. Oh, yes, it definitely does. Oh, we're going to get to the money. And the company's ability to establish valuable partnerships. Who wrote this article? This is a good article. It's on U.Today. Make sure you check it out. Muy linda, mi gente. This is good stuff. This lets you know we're getting close, folks. We're very close. And they're so ready to unleash. And when they unleash, sky's the limit. In my humble opinion, sky's the limit. We'll see. We'll see. Says the company is presently engaged in conversations with various central banks worldwide. Fire, ideal meal. This is fire. seeking to gain insights into their objectives and explore how Ripple CBDC platform can assist in achieving them. Now, listen, I get a little excited. I'm not asking you to feel how I feel. I'm not trying to convince you to be excited like I am. I just personally feel that way. That's it. That's all. The CBDC Innovate Challenge, therefore, we're going to stop right there. We're going to stop. We skipped a few parts, but, you can read the rest if we go to U.Today, all right? Now, let's move on to another article here. The good news just keeps flowing. The world is in a tough state. I know that. A lot of the markets are in a tough state. I know price action might not be where people want it right now. However, just keep getting the good news. And the time is coming. Regulations may roll out at some point in the next year or so. We may win the SEC case. That could be huge, explosive. We continue to rack up big partnerships. Anyway, that's why I call everything looking good. This article here is from cryptonews.net, and it is titled Multiple Crypto Analysts Predict XRP's Price May Surge to $5. We just continue to get these predictions. I just want to read this little piece here, just this little piece, okay? Now, they're talking about a particular movement in price here. And once again, eGrad Crypto is on the job, working hard. Says, nevertheless, eGrad Crypto believed that there was still potential for XRP to experience a significant surge. Potentially, XRP could then reach $2.8 to $4.6. Wait, that's not what I wanted to get to. But I wanted to read that before we get to this. It says, this particular movement would represent the first wave on a larger scale. And there's a chance that it could correct downwards to $1 before. And we all knew this. We've been discussing volatility for so long. We haven't done it in quite some while, but for some months, we were discussing volatility, different price ranges. We've done so much on this channel. So we understand that there's going to be turbulence, that there's going to be selling pressure. People are going to take profit. We know that. This is not strange to us. We're no strangers to this. So yes, when it goes up, then you're going to have some sort of corrections, and then it can go up again. It all depends. It depends on how much of the utility is being utilized. It depends on how many banks are utilizing XRP all at once at that time, how much capital they're putting in, how many things are tokenized on XRP, which I'm about to make a very good members only video on that. I have a lot to say, actually. I've been accumulating thoughts. But anyway, let's continue on. It says, this third wave could see XRP price rise as high as $50 according to the analysts. And this is not the only one. All right. I know a lot of people like to play it safe. And, I think the highest I've talked about is even just $50. What was that? What did I talk about? I talked about 35 to 50. I think that was the range we talked about. But a lot of it is psychology. By that time, there's going to be so few holding XRP. I mean, it's going to be unbelievable. Already in the last 2 to 3 months, so many people have sold their XRP that we even read an article about it where they were saying that people were selling XRP at a loss. Can you imagine how many more people will have sold all of their XRP by the time we get to any of those higher prices? $3 to $5. A lot of people are going to be gone. $8 to $10 people are going to be gone. It's going to be a small select group that if, all right, no guarantees, if XRP is going to go higher, that those people will actually be there to see those prices. So now, let's move on to another article here. All right. How's everybody doing out there? You doing okay? I hope you are. We're almost to the end of the week. We've been working hard, but we've been doing good business, haven't we? Yes, we have. We've been working extremely hard. We've been closing deals, and we've been making some money. Yes. See, hard work always pays off. I know I can do it. I know you can do it. Right? We've been doing it. We've been conquering the week. We've been going hard in the gym. We've been closing deals, making some good capital. We got a few meditations in this week, so that was good as well. We've been trying to keep our minds clear. We've been eating healthy, right? All right. So we've been doing very well. We're going to continue to win in life. Now, let's go on here to this article here on U.Today. Oh, by the way, if you've made it this far and you're watching this part, there's a chapter at the end you're going to want to watch. You'll know what it is by the title. You want to see that. But this article here is from U.Today, and it is titled 360 million XRP bought by whales ahead of major price move. That last chapter I just talked about It puts a lot of things, it confirms a lot of things. And I think it's going to be a major catalyst as to why the new financial system, the bank coins, could, not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, could explode beyond belief in price in the future, of course. And there's a reason that I say in the future. All right, so now it says here, crypto analysts. We have so many of these analysts stepping out here now, making their voices heard. I'm very happy with that. Crypto analyst Ali has reported a massive 360 million XRP purchase as XRP price dropped nearly 12% from June 22nd to June 28th. That's all that selling I was telling you about. I've read a lot of other people know tons of people who have sold their XRP as well. So I'm not the only one. My apologies if I worded that a little bit strange. I'm not so eloquent today. However, there's going to be people where they see that price coming down, they see everyone selling, and they're going to buy what you sell. This is what they do, right? So I expected that. It says, in the last 6 days, whales took advantage of the XRP price decline. Of course, like I just said, adding 360 million XRP worth $170 million to their bags. Then there's a tweet here from Ali, is at Ali_charts. And it says, hashtag Ripple whales bought the dip. Of course, they know what's coming. There is a new system coming. Well, we'll talk about that another time. It's bigger than people anticipate. Much, much bigger. You have to understand the minds of the people and what they need and what's going wrong right now in the world and what the people demand. Transparency, right? Traceability for what? Don't worry, we'll get to that another time. It says here, XRP jumps to as high as 52 cents on June 22nd. The price action turned out to be a trap. Trap, okay. For long positions as the XRP, what? As the XRP price reversed. Subsequently, after that, profit taking on XRP steadily increased. We expect that. As the price turned lackluster, we expect all of that. Meanwhile, the declines were punctuated by brief price bursts. XRP subsequently dipped below 48 cents, a 48-cent level, representing the daily MA50 on June 28th. The moment for XRP dip buyers came for XRP dip buyers as the price dipped to lows of 46 cents. Listen, that's not as low. Listen, I don't know for sure that the price is at its lowest. I'll say that because of certain catalysts. Keep your eye on the banks. Keep your eyes on this financial system. That's all I have to say about that. If things go south, those banks crash. People are going to be pulling capital from everywhere that they can. And if we're going by what has already been established, they're going to want cash on hand. I know, in my humble opinion, cash is trash. I prefer precious metals on hand, right? Maintain their value. However, people en masse in the United States anyway, when those banks went down, they were liquidating everything in sight. You saw that. And they, except for gold, of course, they flooded into gold. And that's why we got some beautiful all-time highs at that time. But they were putting a lot of their liquidations into just pure cash. So if that were to happen, and then on top of that, if things go awry, people are going to look for high yield, less risky assets to put their money in. And then riskier markets can move down a bit. I don't rule that out. So, maybe it doesn't happen, but I like to stay prepared just in case and stay balanced. So now, this article here is from U.Today, and it is titled, Pro Ripple Lawyer Highlights SEC's Breach of Allegiance in Wake of These Comments. So it says here, XRP holders attorney John Deaton underscores the SEC's breach of allegiance, my apologies, in light of recent comments made by former SEC chairman Jay Clayton, who is behind the ongoing Ripple case. This is in a recent interview with CNBC. Former SEC chairman Jay Clayton criticized SEC's chair Gary Gensler's regulatory approach. Clayton recalls Gensler as saying, quote, "If we're not losing cases, We're not suing enough businesses, unquote. Wow. Cameron Winklevoss, co-founder of Gemini Exchange, branded it a, quote, total abuse of power. Hey, Clayton Clayton has a bone to pick with Gensler. He doesn't want to be remembered as the only bad chair of the SEC. He's going to put it all on Gensler. But he's exposing him here. Wow. Then there's a tweet here from John Deaton. Let's see what that says. It says, this is exactly what the judge in the Ripple case was alluding to when she said SEC lawyers were not maintaining a faithful allegiance to the law. You're supposed to have a good faith basis to being a case, meaning you believe you can win by applying the law. You don't wait. But if they don't believe they can win, doesn't that have heavy implications as to how things may be going in the Ripple case? They're just throwing darts at the wall and hoping one of them sticks. So now let's scroll down here, see if it says anything else. It says Clayton went on to say that the regulator should only file cases that it believes it will pass judicial muster. Because if anything else, they're just wasting time. It says, in response to the form, which shows that Gary Gensler, and no disrespect, but I don't believe he ever knew what he was doing. Sort of in over his head. I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause there. Something else I could say. I don't want to be too uncouth right now. It says, in response to the former SEC chairman's statements, Deaton referred to the judge's comments in the Ripple lawsuit, which we just read. Okay. It says, judge points out SEC's lack of faithful allegiance. They're just iterating the same thing that we just read. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. It says, the past week saw the public release of the LBRY status conference, which was held in February. A portion of the transcript highlighted the judge's stance on the lack of clarity provided to crypto investors by the SEC and the agency's refusal to provide such clarity that we read. We covered that. All right, so now let us move on here. So I wanted to cover this article here if it'll pop up. This article is from Morningstar.com. That's an interesting name. And it's a little bit of Stellar related news. And why is it Stellar related news? Well, Stellar related news because of Franklin Templeton. Oh, yeah. So the title is Crypto Can Become Regular Part of Investors' Portfolios Once Regulations Are Clear. Haven't I been saying that? Haven't I been saying that? The money is coming. It's right there. It says Franklin Templeton. Now, wait. Franklin Templeton is working with Stellar. So they obviously know the ins and outs of Stellar and are familiar with XLM, which they have no problem with using if they're utilizing Stellar-based systems, which obviously XLM is the native protocol, very integral to everything, transaction fees and everything, which means that Franklin Templeton is already working with XLM to a degree, right? XLM kind of runs behind the scenes and is the engine, so to speak, of Stellar. So if they're going to say crypto can become a regular part of an investor's portfolio, obviously that would include XLM. That should be at the top of the list for them, right? They'll probably say something like Bitcoin, but XLM will have to be there if they're comfortable with using XLM-based systems, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So this has heavy implications, but let's read a little bit here. It says, cryptocurrencies can become, quote, regular parts of people's portfolios, quote, once regulations become clear in the US. So once again, this is why we haven't seen these explosions in price. This is why we haven't had a true bull run for these utility coins, these bank coins yet. Heck, I don't believe it's a true bull run right now. Just my humble opinion. You could disagree, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But this is what's holding everything back. So we had the one of the CEOs from South Korea said the same thing. You had the head of SBI Remit said we're waiting on the clarity from the SEC case or a positive outcome to the SEC case, which is just pretty much clarity, right? Now you have Franklin Templeton telling everybody, hey, listen, this can't happen until there's regulations. How did they put it here? It says once regulations become clear. So the big companies are not going to jump in head first just yet. Not on everything, they're not, right? Until regulations become clear in the US. So it says here, according to Franklin Templeton, that's what's holding everything back. After that, maybe we'll see a little bit magic. Nothing's guaranteed, but then we could start to actually, maybe see some interesting things take place. I'll just say it that way. It says, which manages over $1.4 trillion in assets. It says, while investors now can buy crypto directly, there are limited ways for them to include digital assets in traditional portfolios, said Sandy Call, head of digital asset and industry advisory services at Franklin Templeton. Earlier this month, BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, filed an application. Well, we know about that. Let's skip that part. So Call said she is expecting more regulatory clarity from the U.S. regulators. While some regulators said existing laws are adequate for crypto, quote, they're not giving a pathway of how to use existing law, which makes people feel maybe existing law is not adequate. By people, she means all of these big companies. I think regulators, they are leaving too much uncertainty in the system, unquote, noted Call. Listen, when I listen to any of these representatives of these big companies, what I see is $1.7 trillion or a few trillion talking to everyone, talking to the world and saying, hey, we're demanding regulatory clarity, which is why things are moving so fast right now, which is why so many individuals from the SEC are stepping out to expose the SEC. You don't find that strange? This is why we're hearing about all of these different activities happening with bills to possibly provide regulatory clarity, possibly removing Gary Gensler. All of these things are happening in the last few months. You have Franklin Templeton come out, then you had BlackRock come out. I mean, one big company after another. That doesn't seem interesting to you, strange to you? It's all happening for a reason. They feel like it's time. Now, we'll see when everything actually happens, but there's a push. At least there's a push. We have forward momentum. So if the SEC could clarify which crypto can be registered as U.S. securities, quote, we can include them in broader portfolios, unquote, said Call. Call added that Franklin Templeton's on-chain U.S. government money fund, whose shares are recorded on a blockchain, Stellar, have seen increased interest from clients. Yes, that's exactly what I want to hear. So you don't think that that might prompt other companies to build on Stellar also? Look at all the upgrades that Stellar has done in the last few months. You think when there's regulatory clarity, we're not going to see a slew? I think it's possible. It's possible. See a slew, a huge cadre of companies stepping in, big companies, and saying, hey, we're going to build on Stellar and utilize Stellar and all of its benefits, just like Franklin Templeton. I think it's possible. Since the fund now manages over $290 million in assets as of the end of May. Quote, originally, the purpose was to really exploit the operational efficiencies of blockchains, unquote, according to Call. But after the Federal Reserve's year-long series of interest rate hikes, quote, we're seeing a lot more interest in being able to hold excess cash in our on-chain government money market funds, unquote. All right, so we're going to stop right there. And what we really want is when there's regulatory clarity, we want them investing in these bank coins. We want them holding these bank coins. We want them trying to make money with these bank coins. Also, new opportunities will arise because the legacy system institutions will have no problem with coming up with ways to make certain innovations, or at least pushing innovation forward, because we know they may not come up with them, but they'll push them forward. Like staking, for instance. They definitely would love to make money from staking. There will be staking everywhere. And I believe there will be a lot of new mechanisms, a lot of new, and I'm not just talking just about XLM, but I mean across all of the different bank coins, they will completely maximize how much capital one can make from cryptocurrencies once the legacy system takes over. I think that's reasonable. We've seen it happen in other industries before. So now, let's move on to another article here. So this article here is from the dailyhodl.com. And it is titled, Coinbase Files Motion to Dismiss SEC Case Against the Crypto Exchange. And it goes as such. Top US-based crypto exchange Coinbase is filing a motion to dismiss the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission's lawsuit against it. The SEC sued Coinbase earlier this month, alleging that the platform was selling, well, we know what they're talking about here. Then they give a little list here, Cardano, Solana, Polygon, all of which I believe firmly have a very bright future. So now let's go Scroll down here. However, Coinbase recently filed a motion with the Southern District of New York to dismiss the lawsuit, saying that the regulatory body lacks jurisdiction. In the filing, Coinbase argues that its transactions don't qualify as securities. I agree with that. Quote, like all securities, an economic arrangement can qualify as an investment contract only if it involves an ongoing business enterprise whose management owes enforceable obligations to investors. Absent such obligations, the contract is just an asset sale. I agree with that 100%. Because no such obligations are carried into transactions over Coinbase's secondary market exchange, and because the value that Coinbase purchasers receive through these transactions inheres in the things bought and traded rather than in the business that generated them, the transactions are not security transactions. That is one of the most clear-minded and potent paragraphs that I've read in a long time from anyone who's battling the SEC. Coinbase is doing a great job, and I want them to do well because they can set a good precedent for the rest of the bank coins that may have to battle the SEC. In the end, I would like to see all of crypto that is legit move forward and win. So this is a very good thing that's happening here, right? And I really don't have a problem with Coinbase. So now, let's move on to another article here. I wanted to cover this one. This is the article I was talking about a little bit earlier. We're going to end off with this one, okay? Because it involves gold, so it is gold news. But it is titled, Central Banks Might Be Preparing for a Gold-Based Monetary Regime. We've been talking about this for a few months now because of what the BRICS nations said last year. They wanted to back their common currency with gold. Then they sort of backed off of it a little bit, and then they said, we'll go with we'll just say commodities. We're not sure which one we're going to go with. Then they went back to saying gold again. But over the last few months, I say the last half of a year, we've seen record amounts of gold accumulated by central banks everywhere. Even up till recent, it hasn't stopped. Which would lead one to believe if the US dollar reserve, and this is a fact, you can look it up, the US dollar reserves at central banks, I believe is at a historically all-time low globally. But the gold reserves are increasing at a historical rate. There's a reason for that. But let's read this little article here, all right? And if that were to happen, us gold holders, I think silver as well, will be sitting pretty, right? We'll be doing very, very well. We're doing well right now, to be quite honest. It says, central banks could be preparing for a new monetary regime where gold plays an essential role, according to Goldring and Rosquag. This is right now, the US dollar is at risk of losing its reserve currency status. This is coming from Yahoo Finance. That's interesting. I haven't heard Yahoo writers speak this way, or write this way, rather. But okay, let's continue on here. US dollar is at risk of losing its reserve currency status, which could create the most impactful shock to the stock market in the past 40 years, Lee Goldring explained. In recent months, emerging economies like China, India, Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, Singapore have been increasing their gold reserves. I have as well. I'm just putting it out there. Creating a massive drive and demand. After making record-breaking purchases in 2022 for 1,136 tons of gold, central banks added another 228 tons to global gold holdings during the first of this year. This robust gold buying has been sustaining gold and keeping it above the $1,900 per ounce level in the face of a hawkish Federal Reserve. But it isn't just the last 2 years that the central bank has been driving gold demand. They have been driving the driving force for the last decade, which could be related to the projected monetary regime shift, which has accelerated, obviously. For years, there has been speculation that the US dollar is losing its standing as a reserve currency. But growing evidence that countries are abandoning the dollar suggests that time may be coming sooner rather than later. That also puts a lot of steam behind why they're rushing to implement the new financial system right now, right? So Saudi Arabia is discussing paying for its oil in renminbi. All sanctioned Russian oil sales being paid in renminbi also. Brazil wanting to settle its agricultural trade with China in renminbi. And France's Total Energies willing to sell LNG to China and accept renminbi. You see where everything's going here? This is dollar. This is shunning the dollar. It says, of course, these initiatives aren't considered monetary regime change because they're not. They're a precursor. Because China has a closed capital account and countries traded in renminbi cannot exchange it, which is where gold comes in. This could explain why so many central banks are buying gold. China has taken a serious approach to building its gold reserves. All countries have done this. So we're going to leave it right there. Once again, that's on finance.yahoo.com. If you want to read the rest of that, and it is titled Central Banks Might Be Preparing. Well, let me scroll up here because the top doesn't say the entire thing. Central banks might be preparing for a gold-based monetary regime. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.